Hi, good evening. Hi, Raj. Good to see you.
Hi Partha, how are you?
Good. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. We had this session with Andrew Mawson this evening, but unfortunately, Andrew, I think, had a booster jab yesterday, and he's not feeling well at all today. So, our good friend Raj, CEO of Free Space, decided to very kindly join us. Thanks for joining us, Raj.
No problem. Partha, I had my booster jab 3 days ago, so I know exactly how Andrew feels today. We both had Moderna as well, so yeah.
Right. So, Raj, we actually wanted to. So, we've been doing this every month. We get a guest every month to pick on a topic which is really topical at the point in time. And we are talking about something which everyone is talking about, that's the hybrid world. And as you can see, what happened today, this is the reality of the world that we live in nowadays, anyways, the VUCA world, right? So, how do
Yep.
we navigate this world? The show must go on. And that's why you're here. Thanks once again for joining us. The whole
Sure.
topic was about the technologies in the hybrid world, and there's so much of talk about this. On one hand, I don't know if you saw this launch of Facebook becoming Meta today. I think what they're actually promising is that they will convert into a metaverse company in the next 5 years. And what this really means for the workplace is that tomorrow we are going to be in a workplace where our holograms are going to attend meetings for us, where we are going to buy virtual slots for our hologram and make them depending on what kind of meeting that our hologram is going to tomorrow. Now, Raj, do you think that this is all of a hype, the flavor of the season, or do you think something is actually happening out there when
So
it
is
comes to work?
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, like everything, I think technology visionaries will always project something which is a vision wants to get you to some place, and in reality, the reality will probably fall in somewhere in between, isn't it? I mean, you're going to land up in a place which is about there in the near term, and over a longer period of time a new vision will emerge, which will take it in another direction. So I think there is some truth to that. Obviously there will be virtual worlds in which people will interact, but that is not going to be at the risk of not having real interactions. And if anything, I think COVID has highlighted the importance of real interactions. And I think to me there's going to be a balance, and there's going to be an interim equation where this evolves into.
right. Yeah. And the to those in the audience, what we'd like you to do is please type in your questions. You see a chat box below, so please type in your questions there, and we can see your screens on the screen. And I'll point this question to Raj, and he will respond to you live there as well. I can also already see some people joining us here. Okay, Sridhar is joining us here. Okay, so that's how it appears. So it's like appearing on TV. So put in your comments there, it'll be seen here. I think that's the hybrid world that we are talking about. So Raj, when you talk about real interactions at the at the workplace, and we are talking about, I think when it comes to work from home, the technology is all sorted out. We know how to do this, right? The
Yeah.
challenge is really now, and I saw your interview on Sky News the other day. You said that the occupancy levels in the UK are actually dropping over the last 2 weeks. So I think what is a fact that we all have to accept is the fact that all of us are going to live in this hybrid world for many months to come. And are we looking at a kind of like a predictive way of technology helping us, saying that, hey, look, this is your workflow, this is the meeting that you have to go towards for today. So can I help you book a meeting? So do you see this kind of things emerging in the new year, 2022, or do you think this is
Yeah.
quite far fetched?
Yeah, so what we see emerging is, the way technology would evolve is it becomes an extension of your behavior, and assisting you with what behaviors that you want to have through the day. So if you are planning to come to work in the coming week, there is value in understanding how the next week is going to pan out for yourself and for your colleagues. So can technology help you with that? Can technology tell you that, hey, if you are thinking of coming next week, you might want to choose Wednesday, because Wednesday is when Partha is coming in as well, because it's actually gone and synchronized Partha's calendar. It knows that me and Partha want to may have a discussion, so it is helping me. So that is how tech can help with the planning part of it, with the actions part of it. Tech can then help with what happens when you go to the real workplace. What is your need? on any given day. Gone are the days when you have a fixed desk where you can put your picture of your family. Anyway, in that case, it's going to be gathering dust most of the time because you're going to work only once in so many days. So you don't do that anymore. But then the work evolves, because if everybody is going to use the space only 20% of the time or 40% of the time, why do you need 100% of the space? So you are going to ask questions on that. Where do you look to see what can help you reduce the space? Answer is technology. Again, technology can help in establishing which kind of spaces are popular, which kind of spaces are not popular, and it can actually help the decision makers decide what is the right kind of spaces that people should be offered when they are coming to the office. Technology can help with the new world of food. How people are getting themselves served with food, or the new world of how meetings will happen. For example, half virtual, half real. How can you accommodate that, both of them? So there are several areas in which the technology can help in the real world, in the new way of working that we are going to see in the future.
Yeah. By the way, Free Space that Raj is the CEO of, I think they call themselves to be the operating system of the workplace, right? Which is essentially all the technology that is required to keep the workplace efficient, to keep it safe. And that's what they do. So there are sensors, there are beacons, and lots of things that they do. And now, if you think about this independently, Raj, and not really about, let's say, your organization, uh, we do what we do in the sense like workplace strategy. But when it comes to actually deciding how do I buy technology, how do I invest into technology, the trend that we are seeing now is kind of like, you buy things off the shelf. There's a trend that I need a booking app, and you just buy it without thinking too much, and tomorrow you realize that it may or may not work. How do you think one really needs to decide on what to buy and what is appropriate for my organization?
Yeah, there are several don't do's, if you may, before I say do this. Definitely don't try to buy the holy grail solution, that Swiss knife solution that it's going to solve every problem of yours. Pareto your problems and try to tackle the biggest problems as in the centerpiece of the whole, as a whole requirement. Now, what will be the centerpiece will be determined by what culture you want to drive at the end of the day. What kind of people that are operating at a particular facility, what is it that their way of working is. So, for example, a place which is predominantly a support place, support kind of office with a lot of shift, people coming in shifts, will operate very differently to a very creative kind of operation, if you may. So I think it boils down to what problem you're trying to solve, and try to tackle the big problems first, and then see how your second most important or the third most important problem can be solved by trying to kind of go by. Definitely don't go by huge consensus that you become completely democratic. You'll finally make an animal with a lion's head and a giraffe's body. It's simply not conducive by doing it by democracy. So you need to kind of tackle your big problems first. Which problems you choose, that depends on the culture, that depends on operation, that depends on what you're trying to achieve for that particular role.
Right. Raj, we have some questions coming in. So please keep these questions coming. Uday Mathur is asking, any ideas on how tech can be used for process efficiencies and cutting down time and effort? Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, when you say process efficiencies, I would look at it as a day-to-day operational processes. So, for example, one of the very interesting challenges that was thrown after COVID was, if you do have 20% occupancy, how are you going to ensure that you have a team that is effectively delivering a high standard of cleaning with 20% occupancy? So one approach of coming up with that was to clean areas that have been used more effectively than the areas that have never been used. Of course, you need to clean all areas as much as possible, but definitely pay more attention to the areas that has been cleaned, which comes down to occupancy, knowing which spaces are occupied. So again, you can use technology to find out which spaces are specifically occupied and drive better process efficiencies and outcomes by cleaning those areas only. So that's a simple example of occupancy led. So if you say occupancy led, then fill in the blank. Basically, that itself is process efficiency improvement. What all can you improve based on knowing exactly where the occupancy is? Can you switch off power because you operate a building with 10 floors? Can you make people occupy only 4 floors until the occupancy goes more than 50%? Then you take it to, sixth floor or eighth floor or whatever. That will help you with process efficiencies as well. So I think the question to ask is, what is the process that you're trying to solve, and then, can you make it occupancy led, that basically, filling the blank.
Right. Raj, thanks for that. And thanks, Uday, for asking the question. If you have any more questions, anyone, please go ahead and type in those questions. One of the things, when I look back at the last 1 year, Raj, and the kind of projects that we are doing, we're seeing two very like important trends. One is that the whole people factor has become very big, and we saw that an HR manager has become the CEO of a large company based in London yesterday, and HR has become very big, right? And the other thing which has become very big, of course, is this whole concept of net zero. I think I used to hear about this term called greenwashing. Like you actually kind of pretend that you're a very ecologically conscious company. But I think that is gone. That's just thing of the past, and people really need to actually think very seriously about the net zero agenda. And I see that on your website you actually mentioned that you contribute to the net zero agenda. Could you throw a bit of light on how tech can actually do that?
Yeah, again, I mean, I think extension of what I was trying to say. I think, what we have tried to do is to, not necessarily, not definitely claim that we have, all the tools to achieve net zero for an operation. But if you think about any non-manufacturing operation, and manufacturing usually has a significant carbon footprint associated with that activity itself. But if you take manufacturing out, for a non-manufacturing, typically employing, white collar employees, possibly office based employees, the largest contribution to the carbon footprint of their operations used to be travel before COVID.
Right.
And the second largest used to be buildings. You run buildings, you operate buildings. That is your second largest carbon footprint, basically, because people occupy buildings, basically. Post COVID, travel has pretty much gone out of the window. People are not traveling anywhere near where they used to travel. So the largest footprint of your carbon footprint contribution is actually running your facilities, where people occupy the facilities, and everything is connected to occupancy, because if people occupy the facilities, they consume, they produce waste. So your waste footprint is depending on how the facilities operate as well. So your power consumption, your heating consumption, your air conditioning, your waste generation, water consumption, everything is associated with how facilities are operating, how efficiently buildings are operating. And to some extent, you can control that based on occupancy, because some geographies still are heavily dependent on occupancy, whether you heat or cool a building. Not so much in Dubai, probably, because you have to cool a building regardless of whether people are occupying it or not. Of course, you can shut the whole building down if nobody is occupying it. But most places in India, in the Western world, in most moderate places, occupancy drives a lot of consumption. So if you can meter your consumption, meter your usage based on occupancy. And given that occupancy is dropping, quite low in most of the time post pandemic, we are still at 25%. I mean, our numbers are statistics. If you are not familiar with, we publish an index called Free Space Index, which is a global measure of how busy buildings are. We are looking at 24% global occupancy in terms of how busy the buildings are. Very, very low compared to where it used to be pre pandemic. The question would immediately arise, why are you heating the buildings up to 100% if there is only 24% occupancy? So you look at how you can improve consumption based on occupancy driven. But in the medium term, I would also hazard to say that every business needs to look at how it can reduce the amount of footprint it has, real estate footprint it has in the first place. Does it need that footprint? Can we right size the footprint to what we need? And that is removal of footprint itself will release the carbon footprint of the individual business's operation, and then that can lead to efficiencies in the future. And number of buildings are not going to go down. Maybe the worst performing buildings will fall off because nobody wants to rent those buildings. People will move to higher performance building. That itself will improve the stock of the high performance building in use, and make the ones that are not high performing obsolete, and take it out of the system, which will again improve the carbon footprint of the entire operation. So I think we have to kind of see how we can remove waste out of the system. That's one way of definitely kind of improving your carbon footprint and driving towards the net zero that you want to achieve.
It's interesting you say that, and I like that term. Can we meter the occupancy also? And it's actually happening. I mean, we were working on a project in Bangalore, and at the end of the strategy, they realized that they're expanding and they're taking more space. They're moving into activity based working. But
Hmm.
when you did the calculation with the existing building and what they will save potentially when they move to a new building, which is more efficient, because the building services are much more better, and it can be better controlled with technology. They realize that they can actually save much more, even though they're moving to a much more so-called swanky building
Yeah,
and a new age building, and it's true. And I
yeah.
think one of the good things, I don't know if you're seeing this trend, Raj, is that I think most clients are being decisive today. They are actually deciding whether they're moving, not moving. Are you seeing the same trend in Europe and in other parts of the world, that in
There
terms
is
of
definitely there are a couple of things going on. One is there people are kind of trying to shape up what they need to do to decide the stock that they want to move into, in terms of the next kind of change. But what people are also doing is they're experimenting with design
right,
ideas. They're ideating new designs. They're seeing what kind of spaces people are likely to use. People are very conscious about what people are coming into the office for, the purpose that they're coming in for, and to design the spaces to suit that purpose, so that we don't move away from an older paradigm of how kind of world used to be to how we want to move to, so that the design is suitable for that. So a lot of clients are doing design ideation kind of um, pilot floors, if you may, where they're trying all these different ideas basically.
here we talk about design makes me feel that design has become way too serious to leave it to architects, and my architect friends are going to kill me for saying this. But yes, I think it is all about co-creation, isn't it? And involving the end user in the way design is happening today. So we
Totally.
have a question from Sridhar. Raj, how can technology ensure or increase the confidence of the employees and their managers returning to work?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the two stakeholders there immediately, isn't it? The end employees, and also the team leaders that are planning. So I think in both cases, you know, you what employees need is a safe, socially distanced, clean space, and a space that can help them achieve something. Either they want to have quiet work, or they want to collaborate with somebody, or they want to kind of be in a meeting or what have you. So I think increasing the confidence is really coming back to the business to show the employees or give the employees the information needed for them to decide. So if you're able to tell the employee that, hey, you're coming in next Wednesday, you've got a guaranteed space which is going to be clean, but guess what? On that day, the occupancy is restricted to 40%, no more. So you are going to be, having a space on the left and right side of you which is going to be free, and that is going to be told much earlier in advance so that people know what they're coming to, and their program is fixed. They know how they're going to come in. They know they've been given information on what do they have to do, what are protocols they're following when they are walking in through the door. Giving information is going to be the key, and the best way of disseminating that information is through an app, because employees can have it at their hands. It is customized for their requirements, and the same app can actually also feed back to the managers who is coming when, tell them about what the plan is for the day, and as much as possible allow them to plan that. And then in the workplace, it comes down to visual confirmation of safety. How are you going to visually confirm to your employees that this is the safe practice that we are following? And there are a lot of technology ideas, including things like digital signage screens that can show you, what the floor is doing live at that time, show you where people are seated, where spaces are not supposed to be occupied, and give you that confidence for employees, and then even put messages out there saying that this is what is happening today. Those are the cues that you can give people visually to confirm that you have a safe operating environment. Plus, there are a number of tools for the cleaning teams, for the catering teams, for them to deliver their services safely. But that's a different question. The question was more about employees and managers, but you have other stakeholders as well in terms of people who are in this operation.
Right. So you're essentially talking about integrating some of the infrastructure, the furniture as well, I'm sure, with
Totally.
stuff like Microsoft Teams and all of that. So if I'm busy on Microsoft Teams, my furniture should also be sending a message out to my neighbors that, hey, he's busy, don't disturb him, right?
Totally,
So
totally. Yeah.
that's
Indicators,
yeah.
signages, all kinds of visual cues to help people kind of maintain that safety.
Right. Okay. Okay. Right. Thanks, Raj. I think we like to keep this quick and snappy, and I don't want to hold you any further. Thank you so much. I mean, I really appreciate your coming in at the last moment, and
Most
really.
welcome. I hope Andrew kind of feels better very quickly. I'm sure he will. He's a veteran, not at COVID, but at keep going, and he's been at it for a while. So I'm sure he'll bounce back.
I'm sure he will. Yeah, yeah. I wish Andrew well, and I hope he recovers first. And I promise to get him on another episode of Key Steps in the new year. I mean, till then, thanks once again, Raj, and
Thank you.
thanks everyone in the audience for joining us. And till then, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you. Bye bye for now.
Thanks, Partha. Take care. Bye bye.